Yo, what's going on, everybody? It is 1:15 p.m. here in Chicago, Illinois. It means it's time for another live stream. Today is Tuesday, October 26, 2021. And today we have got a guest with us. You guys already know who this is. It is Stephen Gnoza, the Serious Runner, or a Serious Runner. It kind of goes by both interchangeably, but we all know the character and we've been loving the character and also kind of like begrudgingly, like kind of growling at the character because sometimes it hits a little bit too close to home, but that's all part of the fun and part of, I think, kind of the genius of the comedy there. We'll get to him real soon, but I do want to say hi to everyone listening on the podcast, the audio only version. Hope you guys are having a good run today. Weather is really nice fall weather in Chicago. It's not nearly as crazy windy as it was yesterday. Got out there, had a really nice run. Just a little bit of water along the lakefront trail, just the way that I like it. And then everyone watching this on YouTube after the fact, hopefully you've got a nice recovery beverage or something a little stronger if it's in the evening. For me, I've got my afternoon coffee. All right, with that being said, we'll bring him in without further ado. Here we go. We've got a serious runner, Stephen Gnoza. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's so great to talk to you. I've been following your videos and the Instagram for a while now. And like I was saying in the intro, you know, the part of what makes it so kind of like lovable is that it really like cuts close to the bone sometimes. And it's very insightful in a way that like clearly you're a runner, you're a serious runner at times as well. And kind of like, you know, the runner mindset. Would you say that's fair?
I think that's fair. And, you know, a lot of the things that I put into the video are inspired by things that I've done myself. So I'm guilty of many of the jokes and the things that I poke fun at.
So poking fun at like the Strava titles and the weird things people do at Taper, that's all stuff that you're pulling. Well, I guess some of the stuff is inspired by stuff that you're doing. And like, as you're doing it, you're like, this is pretty ridiculous, but it's, you know, we all do it.
You know, it didn't occur to me as ridiculous until after I started making the videos.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, there's been moments now where just running with friends or talking or something, I'll say something or do something, and they're like, "Oh, there it is. There's the serious runner coming out." I'm like, "Damn it!" like
Awesome.
I'm trying to shed light on this, and I'm still doing it. It's just maybe it's part of being a road runner. Who knows?
Yeah. How much of it do you think is it like though that do you spend a lot of time on Strava and Instagram, kind of like scouring what other people doing, kind of like looking for content? Versus how much of it is it like you're seeing it between you and like the people that you run with?
I would say it's a mix of both. Right now I'm located in Boulder, Colorado, as all serious runners are, right? Or aspire to live in Boulder. Right. But I started running in New York City, in the New York Roadrunners ecosystem, and you know, a lot of people there. When I started running, it was just before the cheater shoes came out, and everybody was trying to qualify for Boston. So, you know, I had joined the team in New York called the Dashing Whippets, and there was a cohort of a bunch of us all trying to qualify together, and it amazed me the sort of things that people did to try to like just get that little extra margin, right? And it's the things that like I talk about in the videos, right? Like fasting, like taking a caffeine fast. That way your coffee on race morning is that much more effective, right?
Yeah.
And you know, so some of it is drawn from that experience of really wanting to qualify for Boston and looking for every single advantage that I could get. And then of course some of it is just scouring Instagram and Strava, and you know, finding interesting people who are doing, you know, some of the things I call out in the videos, right? Like grabbing products that they're not sponsored by, and like trying to figure out like how that plays into, you know, the bigger question of social media and like how people create identities and personas, right, to present themselves to the world.
Yeah, I mean that's the one I feel like that connected most with me, or like kind of like hit me closest to home, because I'm like, I do that tagging thing all the time. I don't think that's why I'm doing, but I'm like, I think that's kind of why I'm doing the tagging all the different brands. So I was like, Steven, damn it, you got me on that one. Quick question: did you actually caffeine fast before Boston?
No, not this time. I've tried it in the past, and I can't do it. I'm pretty addicted to caffeine,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I love running, but not enough to have withdrawal for 3 days.
Awesome, awesome. Oh, we got Martha coming in saying that she sees that you're wearing the shirt, and that's the shirt from this year, right?
This is this year's shirt, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I'm not in character right now, I felt it was very important to remind all of you that I've qualified for Boston and I've run it.
All right. Well,
So,
Miguel Peralta also says that that Boston participant long sleeve really let us know that he ran possibly the one and only fall Boston Marathon 26.2.
oh, I didn't think of that. That's right. It's an exclusive race. It might
Yeah.
never happen again.
Hopefully it never happens again. Hopefully we'll always be able to see it
Yeah.
only in the spring. But yeah, it could be pretty unique. I mean, I non-ironically, I was like, oh, last year's Boston 9 shoes, it said the
Mm.
Boston 2020 Marathon on it. I'm like, oh, that could be like a collector's item later. But then I was like, no, they kept selling it for a while, even after it was canceled.
Yeah, they have the product. They got to sell it. Make their
Yeah,
money back.
that's true. That's true. Talking about the Boston Marathon, I enjoyed watching all the build up, both on Instagram and on YouTube. And I saw your video, the original video that you had put out, and I really enjoyed it. But then the BAA reached out to you and asked you to take it down. Tell me more about that.
Yeah. So it took me a while to edit together the video just because I was back on the East Coast. I went to go see some family after the race and some friends back in New York. So it took me a while to edit the video. I got it up, I think it was a week later, right? The following Monday.
Mhm.
I set it to publish at 6 a.m. our time. By 8 o'clock, I had this email from the BAA's media relations team essentially saying that, hey, we've been alerted that, there's a video containing GoPro footage from the course on YouTube.
Mhm.
Here's a link to our to our news access rules, and in there were some penalties for like violating them, and that you have to pull it down immediately.
So, what were some of the penalties that were on there?
I mean, ultimately, all they could really do is DNF me and ban me from Boston.
Sure, sure. I mean, the DQ, because I was thinking about that because I remember seeing it kind of all unfolding. And I was thinking, like, what's the worst they could do? They could DQ you, but I mean, it's like, I guess you did talk about how you qualified for Boston at Boston, right? So I'm like, well, if that was going to be his BQ race, and then it's like, oh, well, then he'd have to go run another marathon, and that might not work in his schedule, so that could be a problem. But then I was like, oh, but what if they banned him from the race? Because I guess they could do that. Did they ever get to that point where they're like, hey, no, you got to really take it down? Because we're not just going to DQ or DNF your result. We're going to actually prevent you from ever racing again as a serious runner or not.
No, it didn't get that far, and I'll explain why. And first of all, so I started gramming some of the emails and like updating about what was going on, and I got a ton of supportive messages from people that were like, just leave it up, screw them. Like, like, who are they to say that you can't have this? People were sending me, oh my dog, people were sending me links to other videos that are presently up on YouTube that contain on-course race footage. So somebody carried a GoPro. Actually, I think they carried like 3 different cameras and filmed the entire race. So, I looked through their news access rules, and my first point of contention was that I wasn't really news, right? I wasn't covering the race.
Right.
Like I didn't even say my time in the race. I didn't talk about like who won the races or anything that happened. It was just sort of like, this is my experience of running the race. So I take issue with the news part of it. Their website didn't prohibit GoPros explicitly. It said it discouraged them.
Right.
The news access rules did prohibit GoPros.
Okay.
So, it's maybe like, am I news or not? I think it's giving me way too much credit to call me news.
Yeah.
But and the website also just said you couldn't use on-course footage for personal use.
Well, for commercial use, right? You could use it for personal use, like to show your friends, I guess.
I guess the examples that they have on their website specifically are things like selling tickets to broadcasting it, or selling it as stock footage.
Oh yeah, yeah. Okay.
like things like that, right? Like
Hmm.
so, but there was nothing in there about YouTube
Hmm.
either which way.
Right. Right. Right.
So I argued that it was personal use.
Hmm.
I maybe the one mistake I did make was I monetized the video at
Hmm.
first,
Hmm.
and then when I got this email, I was like, oh, I'm gonna demonetize it, right? Like I'm
Yeah.
not gonna make money from it. Like
Hmm.
that's fine. And I explained that, and I sent them back, and then they were basically like, no, 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 you have to take it down. This is in violation of our deals with our partners.
Hmm.
So I guess my silly little video was really cutting into the profits of like NBC Sports, I guess.
Yeah. Which you're not a
Um,
party to that agreement, so I mean, that's a thing that's strange, but
yeah, and
yeah.
one of my friends here in our local running group um, is a lawyer, and he
Hmm.
was basically telling me like, oh, like you could fight this, you could do this,
Yeah.
and like, yeah, I could have probably, maybe I would have gotten banned. I don't know if getting banned from the Boston Marathon is like a badge of honor or not. Uh, like
Yeah.
it's everybody who doped, and then I made a video. So
Yeah. Yeah. You know what's funny is that like people have been sending me links of other Boston Marathon videos as well because we've been talking about it in the live stream.
mhm.
How like just the whole saga of everything, and I'm like, yeah, I know. I just think that, or do you think that? I have my theory. Do you think that it's because you were mocking the race to an extent that's what the difference is like because it seems like you're getting singled out when other people aren't, especially like the quick response. Like where do you think there's anything going on other than like, I mean, do you think NBC Sports is really like, dude, we really want people to subscribe more to Peacock and this guy's cutting into our like conversion ratios or something like that?
If the serious runner videos were making that much money, I'd be looking into a SPAC to IPO and like
Right.
really cash it. No, I mean I don't want to speculate on the BAA here. What I can say is that I got more than one message either on Instagram or in the YouTube comments on the original video that were to the effect of like, this makes me want to run Boston even more.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, and again, so something I try very hard to do with these videos is to not make fun of things. Like I wasn't
Hmm.
trying to make fun of Boston.
Hmm.
I want to make fun of like how people react to things in Boston, right?
Okay.
Like
Hmm.
like making fun of charity runners would be a really like horrible thing to do.
Right.
But I can make fun of like how a serious runner like looks down on the charity
Right.
runners,
Right.
right?
Right. Right. That makes sense.
So a lot of messages of support were yeah, you're making me want to watch Boston. Like this is good marketing for them. This is good advertising.
Yeah.
And I almost think that the issue is more that maybe their media or news guidelines are just out of date,
Right.
right? And like YouTube is this gray area where, yeah, it's not broadcast television. You can make a couple pennies on YouTube. What's personal, what's not, and how do we define these mediums? I mean, it's not like social media is new, but I guess some of these policies haven't caught up yet.
Sure. Sure. But you are getting a lot of congratulations and props from people like VO2 Max Productions saying Serious Runner carried that GoPro for the full
Yeah,
26.2 miles at Boston, living that hashtag vlog life. It's nice.
yeah. No, Sage is a great supporter. He's a great sport in all his comments. I see you're wearing an any surface, any
Yeah.
distance
Yeah, I got
t-shirt
it. I
there.
got it on today. I got the OG version with the old uh,
Oh
coaching
yeah,
business name. You can't
I,
see it. It's all the way at the bottom.
I've got the old school hat too. I really hope to make new hats. They had really good
Yeah,
hats.
they should. They should. Um, but you're in Boulder, and I heard about what everything that. Speaking of Sage, I heard everything that happened with Sage. You don't live in that like condo complex, do you? Or do you? I have no idea.
No, no, I live about a mile away from it.
Okay, all right. So that you weren't affected by it.
I mean, it's just really upsetting.
Hmm.
Like,
Hmm.
um, hold on,
It's okay.
take a break for a
Sure.
second.
Sure. While we're taking a break, we'll talk about. Let's see who else we got in the chat. Martha says getting banned in Boston has a nice ring to it, but I hope you'll be back in April instead. So everyone, I think everyone's hoping that they're going to see you next spring in Boston.
I don't think I'll make the cutoff. I only got like 52 seconds or 58 seconds under the cutoff. Yeah. I mean, the fire didn't affect me personally, but it's just difficult to watch somebody go through that.
Right. Yeah. No, I can understand that. It's a very sudden thing that doesn't make any sense. You know,
it doesn't, and it's just something that like it's such a fluke thing, and it could happen to you, and like you never think it's gonna happen to you,
right?
And then when it happens to somebody you care about, it's like crap. Like it's so yeah. I mean, like I think he had borrowed like one of my books. I think that's like really the only thing I lost. But luckily, I had one of his books, so you know, running with the buffalo survived. But yeah, it's just kind of like an emotional thing, and I, honestly, like that happened on Tuesday when all this stuff with the BAA was happening, and it kind of put things in perspective. Like, like okay, me fighting with the BAA, like, okay, fine, like,
right, yeah,
like, whatever.
Okay, well, I mean that does put a good perspective on it, and I guess, you know, I mean it circles it back to a serious runner overall. Is that like it kind of like helps us all take a step back from, you know, some of kind of how maybe we're taking things a little bit too seriously, and it helps us to remember that, you know, it's still just running, and we should really just enjoy it on a daily basis to the extent we can.
Yeah. So for anybody who's wondering, like, why did I back down? Why didn't I fight it? You know, it's twofold. That one, like I had other things to worry about, and also, you know, serious runner is never going to be like something that I can retire on, right?
Right. Okay.
But serious runner is also, and the YouTube channel in general, is something that I think can open doors to other opportunities and other film projects. And I was cognizant of the fact that I didn't want to create a bad name for myself within the sport of running. You know, like here's this jerk who like just, you know, defied the BAA and kept it up anyway. So, so for those reasons, I was like, okay, I can take the video down. I'll repost it with a little bit of this, like the footage the BAA doesn't want you to see. It's like taking out mystique.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that makes a lot more sense to me, you know, because something that I tell people all the time, when people ask me about, like, you know, how do you get into the space of being kind of like internet running celebrity to the extent that I am, you know, I'm like, well, just make it so that someone is like reaching out to you from a brand or an event, and that's their job, is to work with you, and they're kind of vouching for you, and your job is to make their job easier and make them look good, you know? And so it's like, if you do want to work with organizations, events, you know, I guess if you have a reputation of like, yeah, you know, we brought this guy in and like, you know, to this, you know, let's say Adidas event, and then for the entire weekend he was wearing Nike clothes except for just the event, you know, they're probably not going to get invited back to another event. So that makes a lot more sense when I think of it that way.
Right. So like if I want to do something now at a different marathon, like, you know, I'm going to be aware of that. I don't want to have a bad name. I guess I'll explicitly check the media rules. How much research did you do on Chicago? I noticed you filmed on the Chicago course.
Yeah. I mean, Chicago hasn't changed their rules for a long time, and selfie sticks are explicitly banned. You know, I still bring one anyway. I started bringing one in 2018. I think I brought still like a little stubby, so it was like it's not a stick. Right. 2019, I brought my longer selfie stick, and I've been running pretty much almost all my races with that. I did a triathlon. I didn't bring that one, but because that would be harder to bring. But for this year, I brought it too. And my take is, you know what, if they're going to DQ me, then they can DQ me, and I'm just like, that's fine. So I'm willing to kind of like take that. But you know, now I'm thinking about, well, I guess I could be banned from the race, and I really like that event, so I wouldn't want that to happen. So I mean, do you think Is that something that you'd like to do? Is like a serious runner goes to? Well, I hear you're going to CIM.
I
Someone had mentioned
am.
that the other day.
Yeah. So I am going to CIM. I think I'm going to run it for me because
Hmm.
just to,
Hmm.
to get a personal
Yeah.
PR.
Hmm.
So I don't think it's going to be a serious runner
Sure.
video. Or if
Okay.
I run it in the outfit, because the tracksmith stuff is actually really nice for the amount of crap I give them. Like it is good
Yeah.
stuff. It's going to be with a focus on trying to PR, so like not carrying a camera.
Yeah. Yeah. So like, if you weren't gonna run in Tracksmith, what would you? I mean, what's like, what would you run in if it's not going to be that?
Um, so I've got some Solomon like
Hmm.
shorts, like tight shorts that I like, and then I would probably wear a shirt for the local. So I'm part of a trail running club out here in Boulder called Rocky Mountain Runners,
Okay.
and for some reason, a whole bunch of us are doing CIM. Like we got sidetracked by roads, so I'd probably just wear some of the club kit.
Okay. That's cool. That's cool. So, when you're running with like the people that you normally run with, like your local running club, um, how much of a hard time do they give you about being a serious runner, or how much do you think they're like avoid like hiding stuff from you so they don't become material?
Well, I mostly run with trail runners out
Mm.
here,
Yeah.
so and it's interesting because a lot of the people out here I feel like started with trail running, or they started with rock climbing or through hiking or something
Okay.
else.
Okay.
Um, but they give me some crap about it. Like one time I was going up Sanitas, which is one of the mountains here in the Front Range, and I don't know, I was having a bad day. I was trying to get up to the top, and some guy, one of my friends, Doug, was already at the top. I didn't know he was there, and then out of the blue, I hear him yell, "Hey, come on! I thought you were a serious runner." So
Yeah.
a lot of teasing like on that level.
Hmm. Hmm.
But I mean, to be honest, like at least the trail running culture here isn't really what I'm going for.
Okay.
That being said, there are road running groups out here that are wildly inspiring. Um, so, but
That's
among
awesome.
my friends, I mean,
Yeah.
it's everybody's like loves the videos. They're supportive
Hmm.
of them. I don't think anybody's hiding anything.
Yeah. So, do you think that there is opportunity for other serious characters, like for example, like maybe a serious runner goes trail running, or a serious trail run? Maybe there's like an alter ego character, like a serious trail runner, like invites a serious runner out into the like. Is there any plans to expand kind of the serious universe?
Yeah, that makes it sound very Marvel like. Yeah, there's been. I've had several thoughts about this
Mhm.
because you know I'm trying to create things that, aside from Boston, maybe that are pretty evergreen, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And so, there are some serious runner videos. I mean, I have a whole list of ones I want to make, right? That time is that commodity you just never have enough of.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's also like, is there a serious trail runner? And what does that look like, right? Like, is that like
Mhm.
an old school guy showing up in a flannel shirt,
Right.
trail
Right.
runner, or
Right.
is it like, you know, somebody who is also more like a road serious runner and like into the gear and stuff. Serious triathlete would be a really, really easy one, or serious cyclist,
Yeah.
just leaning into like buying performance on the bikes.
Mhm.
And,
Mhm.
like, I'm going to buy these pedals that are like 5 grams lighter, right?
Right. Right.
And
Right.
all that. So it's definitely something I'm thinking about, but I would say that I'm not done with serious runner yet.
Mhm. Mhm. Very cool. Very good. Because I always like to see what you got coming with the series runner, and I do think that there's still so much content that there's like so much more material to kind of unearth and kind of go through. So that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool to hear that you've got bigger plans for them. What was it like to go as the serious runner to Tracksmith in Tracksmith at Boston?
Very meta. It was really interesting, and two people in the Tracksmith store came up to me. I don't know if they worked there or not,
Yeah.
or they're just shopping, to tell me how much they love the videos.
Yeah. Okay.
And when I was walking around Boston and going to the expo, because I was walking around in costume and going to Tracksmith in costume and all that, I was amazed by all the people who came up to me and gave me like just positive feedback about how much
Mhm.
they loved the videos. Like I thought maybe I was making people mad.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, like like am I hitting too close to home? Like is it something that I mean, people comment all the time, like, "Oh, I feel seen," or "I feel called out," or
Yeah,
"How you
yeah,
know me so well?"
right,
And on the internet, you're like, "How do I interpret this?" Right? But
right,
like
right.
now, I know that people are just having fun, and like those comments are like in jest and funny, and you know, I I mean, I was completely overwhelmed by everybody that I met in Boston, and it really is an inspiration to keep going with it.
Cool. Was that the first time that you were like outside of Boulder and like your local area that you were recognized like in character, or has that happened? Is this like that old to you now?
No, because I mean, I started the videos about a year ago.
Hmm.
It was last October, so still very much when the pandemic was restrictive. So it was sort of like a pandemic I mean, making YouTube videos in general for me was like I didn't bake bread. I started making YouTube videos. This is the first time that I did anything with the character outside Boulder. People have recognized me in Boulder,
Hmm.
but yeah.
Well, I feel like that in and of itself is a pretty like big accomplishment because Boulder just seems like this kind of like weird like if I were like an evil henchman and I needed like endurance like soldiers, like Boulder is what the training facility would look like. So
Mhm.
like just to be I think to make a name for yourself in a place like Boulder, I think is like pretty incredible because you've got like Olympians, you've got people that are at the pinnacle of their sport in multiple kinds of different disciplines, and then you're like a serious runner and you're like, yeah, I
I'm
got
certainly
I've
not
got more
making.
pull on the internet than you guys do.
Yeah, I'm certainly not making my a name for myself with my running.
Well, tell me a little bit more about your running though. I remember I started watching you. Well, the first time I saw you was in one of Sage's videos when he followed you around like a trail doing I think different paces. So like there was an old Sage training video that you were in, and that was like the first time I saw you. And then I saw in my YouTube feed you were getting ready for an ultra, and I was like, I know that guy. Where am I seeing that guy before? I'm like, oh, I seen him in a Sage video. So that's kind of where I started following some of your content. So I think that was a little bit before the Serious Runner character came about. Do you remember that about that time?
I'm trying to remember what the Sage video you're referencing is, but yeah. So I mean, I wish I was smart enough to be like, I have this brilliant idea for this video series,
Hmm.
and like here it
Right.
is. Like it just didn't work like that.
Hmm.
I I had wanted I had when I decided I was going to start making videos again for fun because I had gotten out of it for a while.
Hmm.
Um, like I didn't know where to start, and I just knew that I didn't want to do the same thing everybody else was doing in terms
Hmm.
of running vlogs on YouTube.
Hmm.
So I had been signed up for the Black Canyon 100K. So
Hmm.
I had made some training videos about the lead up of that, and that might be what you're referring
Yeah.
to.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I was just kind of making other dopey videos, like my dog did a doggy dash, or
Hmm.
we hiked Mount Huron, and like the dog couldn't quite make it, so I put her in my backpack and carried her up, and like laid in this extremely dramatic, emotional music to just kind of like play it
Hmm.
up as if my dog's big day. And then Serious Runner was just one idea of several that I was like, oh, this would be a funny video because all the YouTubers, they make their videos like, here's what I eat in a day, or here's,
Hmm.
a day in the life of me or whatever. So I was like, oh, I should take this, like, like try to encapsulate in a stereotype of some sort, and like a day in the life of a serious runner.
Perfect. Perfect.
Yeah.
I love it. I think that in that Black Canyon that you didn't finish that race that year, at least in the videos that I saw.
Nope.
Do you have any plans to go back?
Not to Black Canyon.
Okay, but ultras are still kind of in the planning for you, or tell me more about that.
Yeah. So again, I'm not going to ever be known for my running. So I got into running later in life. I was
Yeah.
27,
Mm-hmm.
and it took me 4 years to qualify for Boston the first time. But having qualified for Boston, having broken 3 a couple times, like I just felt like like there's no way in a million years I would ever make the trials. So it was sort of like, well, like I could focus on road running and maybe shave like 5-10 more minutes off,
Mm-hmm.
or I could give myself a whole new challenge
Mm-hmm.
in ultra trail running, because it is like an entirely different sport.
Yeah.
So right now I'm trying to go after the Boston equivalents in trail running of
Mm-hmm.
UTMB and
Okay.
Western States.
Mm-hmm.
And luckily, you can time qualify if you're an elite, but you can get in just by doing a certain amount of races and gaining points.
Mm-hmm.
So I've done Black Canyon a couple times to get UTMB points. My experience at Black Canyon last year was not great.
Mm-hmm.
The race is excellent. My experience wasn't great. So this year I'm going to do Bandera instead in January
Ah,
to
very
get
cool.
to get the points, to get the Western States Lotto ticket,
Mm-hmm.
and then take a break because like between Boston, CIM, Bandera, I think I'm going to want like 2 or 3 months of just skiing or something.
Yeah, that's a lot of that's a lot of running.
Yeah,
That's quite a season just if you
yeah.
think about those 3. Awesome. I'm half Pedro has a question. He says, "Good afternoon, Co and Serious Runner. Do you guys feel like you need to perform now that you get more recognized? You mentioned that you're never going to be known for your running, but do you feel like you've got to have like a little bit more, I don't know, street cred, better numbers, or anything like that? Do you feel that kind of pressure since it's more public?
In terms of running.
Yeah, in terms of like your running performance, like you got to have better numbers as part of the character or to go along with kind of the persona.
I don't think so
Mm-hmm.
because like I'm not trying to impart training advice
Mm-hmm.
or sell coaching or anything like that where I feel like I need to credentialize myself with
Mm-hmm.
a certain time. I'm really just trying to bring a little levity to something
Mm-hmm.
people take way too seriously, like which is all the stuff about like getting that BQ or getting
Mm-hmm.
under 3, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in some ways, I don't think that time necessarily makes me more authoritative
Mm-hmm.
about like what it takes on the margins to kind of get those times. Does
Sure,
that
that
make
makes
sense?
sense.
Yeah.
It does. It does. But I could say that I do feel that pressure from time to time, and a lot of it's because I'll put time goals out on certain races, or just generally. Like I've not broken 3 before, and it's something that I'm shooting for CIM because I'll be there as well.
Oh, cool. You carrying a GoPro?
I will. I'm going to bring the stick, but I'm thinking maybe like my approach on it has been like just fly under the radar, or other times like when I did the triathlon, I reached out to them and I was like, "Hey, I'm bringing cameras." And they
Hmm.
were like, "What kind?" And I was like, "Well, here's kind of what I want to do." And there was a negotiation. So I'm like, I don't know where I need to be in that space. Do I just kind of break the rules and, hopefully they're like, "Well, that was like 20,000 views, so we're okay with it." Like I don't know what to do
Yeah.
about that, but I will be out at CIM and trying to break that 3 hour mark, but I do feel pressure. Like I also get a lot of people are like, "Hey, these other things that you're doing are fine, but when are you going to break 3?" So I'll get some stuff like that. Like when I was, triathlon training over the summer, I did a steeplechase and just all sorts of other just different things. So I don't know, maybe that's just the difference when, I'm not making fun, but when I'm not kind of like, putting a mirror on things, in the way that you do.
Well, what's your motive? Like, so what would breaking 3 mean for you?
Over the last year, it's started to mean less and less. It's a great question, and I'm starting to wish, because I've done a couple of literally done a couple trail races now, and I'm starting to wish that more marathons were treated like trail races, where like, yeah, I mean like a 50K here versus a 50K over there, you can kind of compare the numbers, but not really.
Hmm.
And you can't even compare the numbers of the same race over multiple years because conditions might be different. Who knows? So like, I kind of like it means less and less to me now. And I wonder if that's sometimes if that's me like, being insecure and saying maybe I can never hit it anyway, or maybe I'm, moving on from kind of like a different mindset.
Mhm.
I don't want to say more evolved, but like letting go of things that aren't quite as important or may actually impede my enjoyment of running. So I do, but that's kind of where I'm at on that.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting how like when you're in that bubble of I have to BQ or I have to break three, like how much people, and again, I'm guilty of this too, or was guilty of this, wrap that into your identity,
Mm-hmm.
right? Of like, I'm not a real runner unless I've gotten into Boston, or I'm not a real runner unless I could break three,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
I mean, I hear a lot of like when I listen to like running podcasts, I hear a lot of people that are like, yeah, I got to running later in life. And then I ran a marathon. And then people are like, hey, you should qualify for Boston. And people are like, what? And then it's like the next sentence in the story is, so then all I can think about was qualifying for Boston.
Mhm.
Like it just becomes this thing that becomes all consuming. Which I was definitely guilty of that too. Like for a while, I was like, it's just so far away. My times are so like not anywhere close to that. I can't even imagine it. To like, oh well, it's not crazy anymore. So maybe I can go after that. And then all of a sudden, it was like all consuming, and everything kind of revolved around it. And I think that's something that is common for a lot of people. Yeah.
I think so too. And it's just sort of like remembering that you can create an identity or you can identify with things other than being a runner, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
maybe you're a YouTuber, or for me, I'm doing YouTube right now, but I'd really
Mm-hmm.
like to get more into like the trail doc space is really
Mm-hmm.
interesting to me,
Mm-hmm.
and think more narrative stuff like that.
All right. So that's where you'd like to go. Like not like the 8-minute videos, but like an 80-minute video, like following one storyline or one race. Is that something that you're hoping to do?
I think so. Yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
think that's where I will aspire to go next.
Mm-hmm.
Something is longer form, more narrative stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Probably still running related, just because I love it.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this, because I remember I was listening to a podcast that you were on a while ago, and I think there you were talking about, or maybe it was in one of the videos you were talking about how like putting together some of your videos, like you had like a shot list and scripts and all that planned out. Do you still do that now? Like at this point, in terms of how you've been making YouTube videos for a while now, do you still go through kind of like a very like structured, or what I feel like is not typically consistent with what like a solo, like I'm the talent, the camera, the director of photography, like all those things. Like, where is your workflow at this point?
Yeah, I still do all of those things.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
my training is my background's in corporate video.
Mm-hmm.
I went to film school, hated it, got a job in an investment bank, uh, doing corporate video, and this was during the financial crisis in '08. So my job essentially was to put out content that explained why the bank wasn't evil.
Okay.
If I'm really boiling it down
Yeah.
simply.
Yeah.
But I was always behind the camera. Like I never wanted to be in front of the camera. I don't think
Mm-hmm.
I'm good at it. A suggestion that I get a lot is to take the character down the road to be something like a Borat character,
Mm-hmm.
right? Kind of like improv on the street, going up to people and like harassing them and I'm just not that talented, right? Like uh, I'm not that sharp or quick. For me, it's very much like, okay, these are the jokes. I'm going to script it out. I'm going to plan it,
Mm-hmm.
and I take a much more produced, methodical approach to it, than just like I'm going to turn on the camera and wing it.
Sure. Well, that's my approach: is turn on the camera and wing it. Like
Well,
I
you're doing
do.
a good job.
I mean, I actually I wrote down notes for some questions today too. I usually don't like have notes
Oh wow,
like written
that's
down.
some serious prep. Yeah.
Yeah, very serious prep for sure. But I mean, I like sketch out kind of an outline for like all my videos, but like I don't have time to like write out a script and stuff. Then I got to read it off the script, and I don't want to read it off the script because then how do I do that? So I don't know. For me, I'd rather spend a little bit more time in editing, trying
Mhm.
to like cancel out all the ums and uhs. Sometimes rearranging sentences around to make it make a little bit more sense.
For
That's
sure.
just been my workflow, and for me, like people have asked me, like, am I interested in something longer form? And I've never been interested in longer form for running content because I'm just like, I would need to like coordinate with people and do things like making shot lists and making sure we're playing out all this other stuff. And I was like, those are not skills that I have or want to cultivate. But I think that if those are the skills that you like, then I think that would really naturally convert over well to something that's a little bit more structured. That is a little bit more scaled up.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, YouTube has been a great learning experience. It's something that I knew nothing about. But yeah, I think the longer form stuff would be really cool.
And then we got something from Thomas at Believe the Run. He says, following someone else's journey in running is one of the most rewarding running experiences that he's ever had. So he just followed Jordan Trope doing the triple, doing the Baltimore. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but Jordan ran the Baltimore Marathon on Saturday, then came to Chicago for the marathon on Sunday, and then to Boston on Monday. So he did 3 back to back to back. Yeah, I think his average time was like 2:30 and 30 seconds for all 3 races. Incredible. But he and his team over there, they followed Jordan around. So yeah, he's been.
That sounds awful.
It sounds exhausting.
Yeah.
But I think that I would do well on a team like that, but I don't think I would be like, I don't have the vision for something that's that big. I don't have the ability to wrangle all that, I think.
All right.
I could wrangle a small part of it, but maybe not the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of like filmmaking on a little bit of a larger scale is just project management, and if that's not something that speaks to you, it's hard.
Well, I mean, I've done like project management before in my previous life and my old job, but I'm like, I'm going to keep projects small now. I'm going to keep them like one to 2 people at a time.
Right.
And I'm going to just stay there, and it's really comfortable and it's nice. Maybe at some point I want to expand, but for now I'm just like, I like the size that things are right now. Right now is great. All right, let's do a couple more chats, and I don't want to let you go. I don't want to take up too much of your time.
Yeah, I'm seeing a bunch of comments here in the chat.
James Voss wants to know, have you ever met Ginger Runner or Gary Robbins? Trail Docs R Us. He wants to see more Trail Docs. Have you ever met any of those guys or interacted with them?
No, I have not. I've not met them. I've watched a lot of Ginger Runner stuff, though, but I've never met them.
Cool. All right. Adam Fierce says, as Dirty Harry said, a man's got to know his limitations.
Kipchoge would disagree.
Thanks, Kipchoge. What are some of the things that people have? I love that photo.
No human is limited.
Are people yelling things at you like as they go by? Like for me, like I have the thing that at the end of my videos, like, yo, what's going on? So when I'm running and people see me, that's what people will yell, or they'll say like, love the videos. Like, are people yelling things at you yet?
No. In Boston, it was just like, hey, serious runner.
All right.
Although I saw somebody in this chat, right? You can't put a price on epicness somewhere. I don't know where that one went.
Yeah.
It was in here.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, I think it's only going to be a matter of time before people start yelling like "Thanks Kipchoge" at you, or what was something you said like when you kissed his photo and went to bed. Like, I think yeah, I think those are the things that people are just going to start yelling at you. I would listen for that because I'm thinking you're going to hear it.
Somebody has to see the puppy.
Yeah, Runner Dre wants to see the puppy. There's the puppy. Puppy looks tired today.
Oh yeah. I don't know why, but
yeah. Awesome. Well, I don't want to take up too much of your time. Thanks so much for kind of explaining the whole like BAA situation. I think it makes a lot more sense to me now. And I think that you made some really smart, like very sophisticated decisions there in terms of that whole situation, even though it's not really kind of fair, but I'm really impressed with the way that you handled it. And thanks for taking the time to sit down with us on this goofy live stream and sharing some of your thoughts and kind of what you've been up to.
This was fun. Thank you. Where
can people follow you?
It's pretty much at at Serious Runner on most major social media. Personally, it's at Stephen Gnoza. The YouTube channel is under my personal name just because, and I went back and forth on this a whole lot. Like, do I rebrand the channel as just the Serious Runner channel? And I ultimately decided not to because I still want the flexibility to post other things. So yeah, the YouTube channel is just under my name.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, I've already put all that stuff into the description. So if you guys don't already follow Stephen in all those places, make sure you go and hit all those links and follow in all those places. And we can't wait to see what you bring the running community next, whether it's going to make us laugh at ourselves or inspire us to go run our next big adventure. So thank you.
Thank you for having me.
All right,
thank you to everybody who came into the chats and all your kind feedback. And I wish we could have gotten to all of these, but
all right, you'll have to come back and we'll get them all next time.
All right.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.